Hi, what's good, family? My name is Dr. Donnell Cole. I am the co-founder of the Modern Manhood Foundation, and our mission is to equip men and others in our community with skills and tools to grow and build better communities. And one of the ways that we do that is through our amazing podcast episodes with extraordinary people who are doing great things in the community to make sure we're living a life of wholeness and wellness. Today we brought such an amazing guy who's doing this work not only with music and psychology, and I'm not gonna give it all away. Instead, I'm gonna leave it over to Damon because they go way back. Damon, go ahead and do the honors of introducing our guest for today.
All right, so of course, with our mission is for everybody to be healthy and happy and to grow. But for me, this is like a full circle moment when I tell you that this person has influenced me from years back and really exemplified what it like to stand in the community, right? Back to urban roots and back to really creating space of soul and love and music and connection and collection. That's what Jeff Mims is and has been for me. And so to be able to connect with him in this space and to talk about his growth, his work, his music, his art, and what he's doing in our community is going to be an amazing opportunity. So I'm already a little starstruck. I'm excited to be here and to share the work that he's doing, especially as it leads up to our event. And so we're excited about really leading up to an event where we get to create a space for men and especially Black men to take health into our own hands. So without further ado, I want to introduce you guys to Dr. Jeff Mims. And Jeff, take a second to kind of take us through your journey of where your passion for music, but also for community, has really brought you to this space.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. Thank you guys so much. I'm really grateful and humbled to be here with you both, and definitely looking forward to the event as well coming up. But yeah, so my journey really begins, here, Spencer, Oklahoma. Growing up, music always being like central, right? A central theme, a central idea, and a central turn to for my family and our upbringing, right? Come from my dad was a musician, mom classically trained pianist since age 8, grandparents musicians, and we even had a family band growing up. So everybody played. My sister sings. My other sister plays the trumpet. Like it's always been something that's been there, right? But I mean, as it stands out, one of the things that has really, I want to say, helped force me, and really charter this path is really just the way that music has made me feel, right? Just cut and dry. Like, why is it that music provides this heightened experience, right? Across the lived experience, like happiness and these different themes that we'll talk about, even more as it relates to psychology and mental wellness and being healed and transformed. Why does music have this magical impact? And how can we better understand it? How can we hone it? That's gotten me to this place in space now where, as a doctoral level psychology researcher, been able to really dig into, sink my teeth into this experience, and really just learn about it more. And so, this is a part of the work that I get to do now, in helping other individuals tap in to their really, really deep, impactful experiences with music. So, yeah, it's great. It's been a great journey. I'm still on this journey. I'm excited to be on this path and really excited to talk to you guys.
Amazing.
Tell us about the work that you're doing with the Music and Expressive Arts Center of Oklahoma.
Absolutely. So, Music and Expressive Arts Center of Oklahoma, we're an organization that focuses on seminars, workshops, and retreats in the wellness space, mental wellness space. And we use music and creativity and expressive arts as a pathway towards mental wellness. And we do that with individuals, we do that with groups, also do that with organizations.
I was thinking, what is some of the biggest impacts that you saw with using music in terms of psychology and wellness?
I will probably have to say that within my dissertation, right, where I actually got to study musician participants, and I got to, go in. Uh, Hold on, just one second. My son is coming. Is it
Okay.
emergency?
I'm telling her mommy's phone. She's telling.
Son.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
baby. I'm very
Okay.
sorry. I'm
Okay.
just trying to.
Okay.
I'm
This
good.
is fatherhood. This is the work.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Just
Now
take it.
you okay? I like you gonna get that. We get that whenever Willow's with him and whenever my girls are with me.
Yeah.
And if it ain't my girls, it's my dog. So, in terms of music and wellness, what are some of the biggest impacts that you've noticed with using this approach?
Great question. Great question. So, for my doctoral dissertation, I did a qualitative study on a phenomenology that happens in music, and it's called the experience of being in the pocket, right? So, it's a dynamic and distinct moment that happens within a musician's consciousness that produces like a spiritual experience, dynamic human connection, unison energy, and there are different components of it. So within that study, there were five contributions that were made to the field of psychology. And so I want to say probably one of the ones that really stands out was this dynamic equilibrium that happens. And I know I'm using, a lot of wordplay, but I'll explain what that is. And it's basically the balancing of contrasting feelings happening simultaneously, right? So one example of that would be this experience is described as a fire but calm in my belly energy that produces bliss, like this elevated state of happiness, right? And so psychologically, this is huge because across human experience, people are seeking such experiences like mindfulness. They're really trying to connect on the deepest levels, right? And on the deepest levels of spirituality and human experience, music is there. And this study showed that. And so this is probably one of the most amazing things that I've seen. I mean, I'm in the field, so I see a lot of different things all the time, new findings, right? But this is really, I mean, the power of music is definitely backed by science, and seeing that on a day-to-day basis is really awesome.
It makes me think about the indigenous cultures and how they use, a lot of the music and like transcendental meditation or yin and yang,
100%.
all of it, the holistic fullness, the
Yes.
richness. That's interesting.
Yes, transcendent experience is definitely a part of music, and it's a part of music in the psychological writings and the academic writings. So it's definitely there. You are right on it.
This is a space that Donnell and I really kind of love to explore, but it makes me think about how impactful music has been on a cultural point, especially when it comes to Black men. And like, I'm excited to really understand what your perspective is and how music has helped to shape what Black men's culture looks like. Because some would say it's in shambles, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So music impacts us. That it is cultural. It is something that we understand. It is something that tends to speak to our experience, and has done so, across millennia, right? So for a long time, this has been something that has, been a guide for us, or even helped shape, our culture and our existence. Like, and one of the things that we often explore too is this idea of who am I? Like, right? Who am I and what is my purpose and identity, right? So those are themes that come up, and you're absolutely right. Music can speak to that. But as it relates to music being a bad influence or a good influence, goes back to kind of what I spoke about when we were just kind of talking. It's really understanding the level of awareness, right? So if you take a child who doesn't understand how music is impacting them, and the music is negative, then it's going to have a negative impact, right? But so when you drive awareness around those different things, it's like, oh, okay, now I understand that music is moving me, or I resonate in this way. And then now, and only then can you use music with intention, right? You can use music with, okay, now I want to use this music to shift my mood or for inspiration, right? And so that's really the kicker. If you have a heightened awareness, you can listen to music that has a negative theme, and you can consume it for entertainment purposes only, right? If it has a nice beat, but it's a little bit of violence involved, I know that that doesn't impact me because I'm aware of what's happening in the moment. And in earlier we're talking about the development of a child's brain. It's really fragile during those first 7 years, as you mentioned, Dr. Donnell. And so yeah, it's still about awareness. The level of awareness is how you can really predict or anticipate how we should use music and how it's impacting us for sure.
So, in terms of how you've been using it, what is something you would like to see more? We know mental health is a big thing, and we know that this is not a problem that's going to solve itself. What is something you would like to see when using music in terms of mental health?
Right. So just to quickly answer that, I would just say embrace music, right? embrace music should be the theme, with the understanding that it does have capacity and potential. So then it's like, okay, on the basic level, just embrace it, right? And then as far as we can see, potential really speaks to the ways that we don't know, the things that we haven't really figured out or seen as a result of positive impact of music experience. But just from embracing it, we know that it's a great way for cultural groups to address cultural stigma, which is a huge problem in psychology and mental health. Generally, you don't speak about personal things like from a cultural group, Black family. We don't talk about personal things outside of the home. You keep quiet,
Yeah.
right? It's what stays in this house, what happens in this house stays in this house, right? Sort of idea. And so when you introduce music, music is something that's generally seen as an invitation, right? It's something that we understand, it's something that we resonate with, right? And so it actually, and if we were using music to help like if I say, hey, how are you doing? How do you feel? It's like, oh, I'm good, right? It's like, but how do you really feel? It's like, oh, okay, well, I'm not really sure. I'm stuck. And then we play a song that like maybe is the blues, right? I ain't got no money. My baby left me. And it's like, no, that's how I feel. I feel like that. So now when we bring in, when we that coupled with psychotherapy, is like now again awareness, you've had these feelings that were beneath the surface that are now on the surface that we can kind of unpack and deep dive. So that's really one way that music is like a tool and a pathway to accessing those different things that are like stuck beyond beneath our consciousness in the subconscious level.
Man. And I think that fascinates me because energy, memory, it stores in the body.
Yeah,
You often don't know what it is sometimes, but the
100%.
cells have consciousness and they have intelligence where they know where to store it at. And the frequency, we can familiarize ourselves with frequency because the way the tune set is on a subatomic level, that makes total sense.
Hey, you're hitting on something very important because you talked about the body keeps score. That we're talking
Yeah.
about trauma, right? And a pathology of trauma, like those things pass down. But what about a pathology of healing? If we look at it from the perspective of mental wellness and humanistic psychology, Carl Jung talks about the collective subconscious, and in your
Yeah.
DNA having, you inherit the DNA of your ancestors, right? So how
Right.
did our ancestors access pathways towards healing? Did they use music? Did they use music on a spiritual level that provided hope in the most hellacious conditions?
Powerful.
Maybe, right? So there's definitely something there when we talk about DNA and trauma and this pathology. There are gifts that we can also tap into as well.
Powerful.
I think it's beautiful how we can really see the reality of how life speaks through music. Our experiences, what we're going through, sometimes what we're struggling with, comes out in our artistic expressions, and it can be some of the most beautiful moments, even if they speak of that struggle, but people connect with them and they move it. And I know for me, like that's been a big part of what even the last few years of my life has looked like. I can literally pinpoint moments where music is what I leaned on to get me through that moment. And then moments where music was literally how I was able to express what I was dealing with and to see the response of those who get to engage with that has been a beautiful, beautiful time. And I say that as an artist myself,
Yeah.
that. I mean, it's just understanding that is literally where your passion and profession really collide. And so this is
Yeah.
really dope to see.
I was just gonna say, you made me really think of a conversation that I had with a musician when I asked him specifically, like, so what has music meant to you? And he took a pause and he was like, music saved my life, honestly. And if you think about that from like with the work that we do, like brothers, we try to help people heal and access, ways of creating healing, right? Connecting to that. And for him to say it saved my life, it's like, okay, that very well noted. Like, you know what I mean? This is a very powerful thing that we're talking about. And so really understanding that and not really glossing over it is like really at the core of the work that I get to do, and that gets me excited.
So
Yeah, I think it also goes with the duty too. You know, like when you really understand the value of music and communication and the power it possesses, it comes with the deep duty to make sure you steward it in the right manner.
Right. And one of the reasons why that is, I'm just going to give you the answer, right? So one of the reasons that music resonates and connects with us on a different level individually is because we're all having a human experience, right? When I show up to the concert, you show up to the same concert. We're both at a different moment in time in our life, right? So what we hear resonates differently based on the dopamine drip and what our spirit and our mind, body, and spirit needs in the moment. And so that's naturally what we extract from it, right? Our bodies and our minds and our spirits want to heal. They want to have the best of what that experience offers. And so that's really one of the most magical things about music is that it has the capacity to do that, right? It can connect in the areas that you need to connect and create that moment, where you need a shift.
As Black men, are we missing out on a lot of healing because of the music we listen to?
Um, sure, absolutely, absolutely. And again, I think it would go back to the level of awareness.
Mhm.
But there are some themes. When I say I'm talking about themes like psychological themes, ideas. There are themes that even the most violent music it speaks to. As we're our questions about manhood, right? Being able to earn money and provide for your family, right? This is a theme across manhood, like being a man. What is a man, right? And connecting to those things in different ways. Independence is also something too that is a theme in manhood, and sometimes the music speaks to that. So grabbing a
Right.
gun and standing on 10 toes down is really less about the violence and more about what somebody is feeling on the inside about what it means to be a man, like independence and freedom and autonomy. Like those are just themes that are like connected to the most, vibes like, let me not, that's garbage, right? Well, what are they saying? Like, is
Right.
this guy crying out? Is he talking about the traumas of growing up in, certain situations and environments and literally crying out saying, this is all I know, right? And again, one of the beautiful things about the work that we do at Music and Expressive Arts Center is removing judgment from
Yeah.
creative experiences, right? Because we're
Mhm.
judging the product. We say that music, that product is violent or it's degrading, and not really thinking much about the creative process and the
Right.
psychological nuggets that it provides. Not only for the artist who's doing that, doing the best that he can, or not, right, or not, but really thinking about it creatively, for potential, for positive potential.
Yeah. I love that answer, and because really it speaks to why and how the music that we create that a lot of people deem as being ultimately and just flat out destructive, right? They'll tell
Yeah,
you that rap music is destructive because they're not looking at, like you said, the underlying themes and the
yeah,
reality of our experiences, and then you throw on top of that just basic manhood
yeah.
and the fact that we're in an age where we have to, it's being redefined, and so the being able to explore it has just as much value as other things. And so I'm glad to hear that that's the space we really need to look at it with,
It,
because yeah, oof,
you make sorry, I don't mean to jump in, but you really make me think of something. And I don't know that this has been done in the virtual space, but I think it would be great to be able to take a piece of music, right? Like I'm just gonna throw out an artist like Mo3, right? He was somebody who was killed, and he talked about violent activities during his music. But as a humanistic psychologist, I can listen to that and pull out and extend compassion to him based on certain themes. And I feel like that would be more productive than dismissing it all and just throwing it all away and saying, man, like it's, inspiring other people to kill and all that. But I don't know. It may be cool to look at it from that lens because there's definitely hurt, there's definitely trauma, and we've heard hurt people hurt people. So it's about really, to what level as practitioners and professionals are we able to or willing to reach back and extend compassion and really listen and to understand instead of listen from to judge, right? That may be more productive. And maybe that's the you talked about responsibility. Maybe that's one of the maybe that's something I need to do more of, right? But that just happened on the spot, like thinking about different ways for solutions. I think that would be a great thing to do. Could be pretty cool and fun too.
Yeah, but I think you can also take all of it because that was just one clips in his lifetime.
Yeah,
There's a point where Mo3 was talking about ayahuasca retreats
yeah,
and,
yeah.
being interviewed. And they like, what are you doing to get through your trauma? Hey, brother, this is something I'm doing. I'm changing my diet. He's
Right,
talking about herbalism. You know what I'm saying?
right, and
I
right,
think,
and not even being able to get to that place. So his potential thwarted, right?
right. Yeah.
It makes you
And
feel even sorrier for him.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's the beauty of the journey. I think that's the beauty. I think that's the beauty of being obsessive with your gift and the places that it can take you.
Yeah,
Right? I've heard some artists say, Tyler the Creator. Tyler the Creator was like, everybody, my music's not for everybody. But he's like, I just bought my mama a house. I just got all these cars. Like the beauty of what your gift can afford you and where it can take you places far surpasses sometimes the identity that we take on, right? Because you just never
100%.
know. And for some people, when I listen to the music, even though some of it's crazy, sometimes I look at how they're using the gift and what the gift has really done for them in terms of
Mm,
how they study the craft,
yeah.
how they use the craft, how they use the words. Certain terms is just it's fascinating.
It's amazing. Like some of the creativity is really amazing. It really is. But even if you think about like let's talk about it now, right? We talk about like some of the beef and violence that's in rap. A lot of it is saying,
Okay.
hey, I want to be a man, I want to be seen as a man, and I want to be respected. That's like if you just kind of
Yeah.
condense it down, that's kind of what they're crying out saying, generally speaking, right? And I haven't talked to everybody, and
Yeah.
some people probably would not admit that. But again, I come from this culture. I understand too what is kind of being said in a sense. You know what I mean? So uh, that would be another way of kind of looking at it too.
No, you're not wrong, and because like the research is really clear when we talk about how black men are we have the highest rates of suicide between the ages of 15 and 24, right? When we talk about what when they went back and did the research to see what were the themes in what these men were sharing, right?
Yeah,
And when the top themes are feeling worthless, right, or feeling in or not feeling valuable in society, are we not seeing that being represented in what, as they say, art imitating life?
right.
Yeah.
Wow. Absolutely. I mean, I think that's right on it. I mean, these themes, and I think of the desires, right? The desires of to get there, but not really. Well, like some people can like it's hard to ask for help.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And so it could be a pride thing. It could be again. I think it goes back to even the foundation of what you guys represent is this idea of manhood and really looking at that from different perspectives. What is it, and what is it now? What was it 20 years ago? What will it be in the future? What does it look like in Oklahoma City? Like, yeah, I
Yeah.
think
The
that.
vulnerability is beyond. I told Damon I was recently seeking out counseling, and we studied ACEs. We talked about ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, right? And
Yeah,
how for me it's been like gaining weight, losing weight, hyperactivity, abandonment, being triggered. And I started to experience these things for me on a deep level. And I was telling Damon, like, I think I should get some counseling. And I remember talking to a therapist and hearing the questions he asked me and the way he responded, like, oh man, from being in this abuse, it usually shows up like this in adulthood. From being through this, it usually shows up like this with addictive personalities. And as I
yeah,
was talking to him, I started thinking about the defensive mechanism that we develop as a man. Like us protecting ourselves is such a huge thing. But do you know how much courage it takes to get to that point before we get to depression, before we get
yeah,
to killing ourselves?
yeah,
Even the feeling I thought, even when I was mentioning this, because I was thinking about my thoughts. I listen to my thoughts when I'm doing things. And I was like, man, it even feels sad to say I'm a man and I need help because as a man, it's almost like An oxymoron. How can you
Yeah.
say you a man but you need help? Like you a
Yeah.
grown man, really?
Yeah. 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 Where do men go to cry? Drop the address in the chat, right? Nobody knows.
Tell us how music can really be used as a tool to get to those spaces of
Yeah,
awareness, right?
Yeah.
Awareness, because
Yes.
before we
good.
can deal with those feelings, deal with what's happening in here. Because for a lot of guys, therapy ain't it for them. They're
Yeah,
not looking for that. But what can you share with them today that maybe they can put into practice to kind of help them move in what they feel and know for themselves is the right direction?
So I just had something silly jump in my head, right? And I was thinking, and this is to answer your question. I was thinking, follow the drip, follow the drip. That's like a joke, right, from a movie line. But no, I'm thinking to follow the dopamine drip, right? Follow whatever your spirit is craving. Follow that dopamine drip. It's dopamine in the brain saying, my spirit needs this music, this song at this moment in time, right? So again, in the shorter way to say it is just embrace music. And if you're looking for it as a way to, as a mental health access tool or how to drive awareness, follow that dopamine drip, see where it leads you. It may call you to pull up some James Brown, right? Or some Alicia Keys or some Burna Boy and just really sit in it. Sit in it to feel. To feel what? Well, I don't know. To feel whatever you're supposed to feel in the moment. Like if you like there have been moments where I feel like even and this really happened when I was processing or still processing grief of the loss of my dad, someone who's really close to me. There are moments where I feel like I need to cry. I need that catharsis to flush, to shift from this stuckness and grief that I'm feeling, right? And as a man, it's best to do that in a car alone, right? There's no judgment, there's nobody there, but it's intentional in a sense of around where you're asking, Dr. Damon, is to drive awareness. What am I feeling? And then sit with that, right? And sit in that moment to really feel. And then you can pull out the pad and document what you're feeling in that moment. That'd be another great way. And then you take that information and you share with a professional, someone
that's
who
good.
is someone like a licensed therapist, a counselor, someone who specializes, right, who can really speak to, hey, now we can unpack the psychological meanings of these things that you're saying you're feeling, and then now you're really doing some heavy work, you're doing some heavy lifting, because I'll tell you what the alternative is. Those moments will get missed, right? You needed to cry, you didn't. That moment is gone. You needed to process that grief or that argument with, your child's mother, and now that moment is past. So what happens to those feelings, right? Do the feelings pass even though the time has passed? No, they get stuck in different places. They get stuck in your shoulders, in the body, in the stomach. The trauma gets locked away, the grief gets locked away, and it's like a time bomb, right? We don't know what's going to hit that trigger, what's going to cause us to tick and explode, and then now we don't even have tools, and there's no process with all this different buildup, right? This is really the Black man's experience, right? The pathways, the access, the tools to process and flush the things that we need to flush, right? So music is great. But again, it goes back to the awareness. And so those are some of the ways that you can kind of tap in with the self. Do it alone. I would just say, like, that's my advice. Do it alone, where you can trust yourself and really, hold space for yourself and extend yourself grace so that if you do need to cry, you can pull yourself together, and then, really process what just happened. So that's kind of, that music would be great for that.
I love
Uh,
that.
Yeah.
I
So
love that.
tell us about your latest music experience where you were in the pocket, man, because you're an artist yourself. You got work out there. Like I said, I'm a personal fan. Seeing you work like literally 15 years ago and seeing you, just command a microphone and your instruments and really be able to just live in the beauty of that moment is what inspired me to pick up a guitar too. And to say,
yeah, I love
start learning a little bit here and there. And so
it.
it's been a fun ride, man. So I got to say thank you for that. But tell us your latest experience of being in the pocket as a musician.
Yeah, so I think you were actually there. It was Arts Festival last year, or no, it was this year, Arts Festival. And we had a moment on stage, man, where we were just kind of locked in, and the wind was blowing. I was able to close my eyes and really feel, because if I'm practicing feeling, it's something that I like to embrace myself, because my spirit needs that nourishment as well on my own journey across life, right? So, yeah, so we definitely had a moment then during the arts festival. That's something that really stands out. But another one, man, would be on my Facebook, on in Instagram. There's a conversation that I'm talking with the late great Sean Martin. He was Kurt Franklin's musical director, and he won some Grammys with Snarky Puppy. And man, probably one of the most, if not the most talented and amazing musician that I've ever known, right? He recently passed away, but there's a conversation that we're having about Pocket, right? And he's talking about what it means for across the lived experience and what it means for life. It just means doing the right things, you know? So much so that when people step to you wrong, what do you say? Man, you out of pocket. It's like, so thinking about Pocket, not only as a elevated top tier music experience, but Pocket as a way of life. You know, this distinct and dynamic moment that exists, you know, for humans. It's really great. So it's something that is a desire. It's a desired state of being for me, and it's something that I try to access as often as I can. You know, with all that I know about it and with all that I'm learning about it, for sure.
That's beautiful. Where can they find your music, and where can we find your work?
Okay, so music is on all the streaming platforms. You know, some of it is it's a little bit older. I haven't released new stuff yet, but new stuff is coming for sure, because I'm always creating. I'll never not be creating. You know, and now I think that I'm more mature in my understanding and more compassionate even for myself within that creative process. So my next you know, creations will be, you know, deeply heart centered, right? But you know, as far as the work that I get to do in psychology, you can find all that on LinkedIn. I post a ton of research articles and studies, new studies around music and its potential. So
I gotta say something. What could people look forward to when they see you perform or see you come out and share on the panel at the Health Men's Meetup?
I mean, probably they can look forward to those little nuggets, right? I think that anytime that we meet, it's an opportunity to help somebody, right? Of all the conferences that I've been a part of, there are always moments that stand out. And some of those moments have helped guide and shape my life. And so I'm hoping that I can provide those little nuggets, right? I'll be able to say something or add value to someone's life, or, you know, share some insights and just one little corner, right? It may be one light bulb and it's like, aha, you know. That's what I hope to bring to it. Absolutely. Those little
Oh,
jewels that people can take away.
Absolutely. Listen, guys, we want you guys to join us for our next event, which is the Men's Health Meetup. This is going to be an opportunity for us to really come together as a community and really share in, like you said, those tips and tools. You know how we roll. We like skills and tools that are going to help us be the best versions of ourselves. So listen, go out and register. You can find us at manhoodmasterclass.com. We're going to be at Rose State College on October 26th. Register, come out and hang out with us. We're serving an amazing chef prepared buffet lunch. So listen, we're not serving sandwiches and cold ham and cheese. Listen, we're excited because we're going to create not just a moment for us to fellowship, but for us to grow together. And when we think about men's culture, men's health, we can't talk about that without getting to the root of what impacts a lot of us the most, which is the music that we enjoy, that we live, that we create. So once again, you guys can find us, of course, with more information at manhoodmasterclass.com. Go and register for the Men's Health Meetup, which is a free event. And of course, you're going to find some links so that you can tap in with Dr. Jeff Mims and all the work that he's doing.
absolutely. Well,
Absolutely.
brother, thank you for joining us, man. We appreciate all that you do. I have been looking forward to the interview because we talked about similar things we're doing. I think it was Dwight Irving. They said, y'all
Yes.
need to connect with Jeff Mims. I'm like, hey, bro, get out our business. We already on there right now. Don't even trip. So we
I
like
love it.
whatever, synchronicity. We love to see those intuitive happenings where we know that we're in alignment with what our spirit truly desires to see be created, in the relationship. So, brother, thank you for sharing space with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And this is a blessing. I look forward to the panel and the event is going to be tremendous. Even now, the food. I didn't even know that was a part of it, but yes,
It's gonna be amazing
I'm
food.
very excited.
Listen, you can't bring over 100 brothers together and not feed
Yeah.
them.
Right.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. Listen, we're good to go.